Well, good afternoon. I'm excited to be here with Portland Workforce Alliance and to be speaking with all the different school districts and the 5,000 students, teachers, educators, school counselors, and community-based organizations that have joined this wonderful career fair. We're all excited that next year it will be back at the Portland Convention Center. But as we together work through this pandemic, we're in the virtual world still today. So I am excited to speak to you and create some awareness about not only my craft, but union apprenticeships as a whole. So I'm going to go ahead and kick off. This presentation is being recorded. Certainly, if you want to opt out, you can opt out at this time. And the chat window is open. I know that there's a lot of information that you want to gather in a short period of time, so I'm just going to rock and roll. So my name is Timothy J. Coleman. My pronouns are he, him, and his, and I'm with Local 669, which is America's Fire Protection Union. And we're not talking lawn sprinklers, we're talking life safety systems. We're in the pipe trades. So in the bottom right, you can see that there is a sprinkler head, right? We all know that. So that's the type of work and the type of installation that we're doing. But you may not know that there are actually 2,000 different types of sprinkler heads. And you could see from the other photos the massive pumps and piping. We'll work with a lot of Schedule 40 pipe, which is 8-inch pipe, and microcontrol systems, and all different types of systems and piping. So this is a dedicated automated system where we handle all incoming water supply and the installation of the overhead fire suppression systems. So I want to share with you, as we walk through the different types of systems that we put in. This is a architectural rendering of the State Treasury Building in Salem, Oregon, so just to the south of us. And this particular building is end of the world construction. It's earthquake proof, fireproof, and flood proof. And we put in 4 different types of systems. We put in a water system, we put in 2 dry systems, and we put in nitrogen systems. So you're like, holy mackerel, I thought we were just talking about sprinkler systems. We're talking fire suppression. So off to the left is a photo of a data server center. And I had the opportunity, and hopefully you have as well, to get out to Bend, Oregon, and that general market out there. And a few months ago, I was in Three Sisters, Oregon, and I was at a youth build. And what brought me out there? Well, a lot of growth. So there's a lot of data server centers, companies that we think about on a daily basis, and we use their products like Apple, Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Google, Intel. So all these electronic devices that make our world work today, and we're on a Zoom call today because of technology, they have data server centers that are bigger than your high school campus, as an example. So I want everybody to just kind of be honest. Who's ever dropped their cell phone in the toilet? Now, I have, right? But maybe you didn't do it in the toilet. Maybe you dropped your cell phone in a pool or your bathtub or in a lake or a river or the ocean. So we know what happens to that particular product or your cell phone. It's completely destroyed. So we protect assets, right? In this case here, imagine if our fire suppression systems were 100% water, we would destroy the assets. So we utilize nitrogen systems to suppress that fire source. The photo to the right is a petrochemical plant actually outside of Pittsburgh. So this photo is from last year. You can count the number of cranes that are in the air. There's over 50 cranes in the air. And we are putting in fire suppression systems to protect that asset and protect people. So remember back in middle school when the fire department came in and they did the class on fire extinguishers. And they talked about the different types of fire extinguishers. And they talked about, maybe if you remember, a kitchen fire where there's oil and grease. What happens when you try to suppress or stop that oil and grease fire with a fire extinguisher that's 100% water? Spreads it out, right? The oil and grease spreads out so the fire gets bigger. So imagine on the scale of this petrochemical plant, or imagine at an airport, or imagine at a nuclear power plant where there's any type of fuel source that can't be suppressed by water, we utilize foam, right? Or we could be using antifreeze systems. So we're putting in very sophisticated systems. So I've got a short video. This is actually from NASA, and you're going to see testing of a fire suppression system that we put in here.
Today we're going to test 4802, the high foam expansion system. Today's test consists of the foam will mix with the water. It will go through the generators and it will dissipate through the floor. It has to cover under the wing within 60 seconds, about 90%, and then it has to get up to 3 feet of the hangar within 4 minutes.
Up to the wing of that aircraft within 90 seconds. Pretty wild. That's one heck of a bubble bath, right? Yeah, but that's going to suppress any fire source. Okay. So that's pretty cool. So a little more about us. We are a little different. We're what's called a road local. We have jurisdiction in 48 states. We've been around since 1915, and we have membership close to 15,000 women and men, and we have about 2,700 apprentices in our 48 state jurisdiction. Now, I want to paint the picture because I think it's important to understand that my local, right, which is close to 15,000 members, is part of something that's bigger. And that's really important when you talk about size and you talk about solidarity and you talk about strength in numbers, right? We learned in kindergarten, right, to stick together, right? So everything you want to learn, there's actually a book on it that's called Everything You Want to Learn, You Learned in Kindergarten. Sticking together, right, is the most important thing about being safe. It's the most important thing about getting your goals accomplished, is working as a team. So we are part of a bigger entity that helps us to stay together, and that's called the United Association. That's my international. And the United Association stands for the United Association of Journey Person and Apprentice Welders, Plumbers, Pipe Fitters, Steam Fitters, HVAC refrigeration techs, and sprinkler fitters. Right? And that's the pipe trades, the fitters, the welders, the plumbers, the HVAC techs, and sprinkler fitters. Commonly called the UA. The UA has been around since 1889. We have about 359,000 members, and we're in 300 locations across North America, represented by 225 affiliate autonomous local unions. In your area, there are 2 UA locals. There's Local 290 and there's Local 669. We are a specialized craft, fire protection, but we're part of the pipe trades, the UA. Now, the UA is part of something that's even bigger, and that's called the North American Building Trades Union. And I think it's important to realize that because as you explore opportunities, I hope you realize, that construction is more than just being a welder or a carpenter, right? There's 15 different international affiliates that all have different crafts within them. So there's so many opportunities, and it really comes down to finding your truth. Because if you want to be an iron worker and you become an iron worker, then I'm really excited and I win as well, right? Because we want you to find where you can excel and have a great career. So we don't compete against each other. It's like being on a sports team or being in a band. We all have different roles, right? But we all focus on accomplishing the mission, which is the installation of our particular product, representing our craft as craftsmen and keeping our workers safe. So let's talk about the trades, right? So one of the first trades on the job is the operating engineers, right? Think about heavy equipment, think about cranes, right? Excavating equipment, right? They're going to prepare that particular site. The electricians, and I know that a lot of you have visited the electricians, but there's three crafts within electricians. There's low voltage, right? So we're talking like telecom. There's outside, so outside wire, that's like the transmission lines, like the utility companies. And then there's inside. Inside doesn't mean you're always working inside, but it differentiates between the transmission line folks. So think about bringing power into a particular building, right? So again, if we're going to build this building, right, we need all these trades working together. We need the Teamsters, right? They're part of the building trades because they're bringing the product to and from the job site. The bricklayers and masons, right? Block, brick, tile. Okay, the elevator constructors, a multi-craft trade, another specialized small trade. Anything that's moving people from an elevator to an escalator, they're involved in. The painters and glazers, which is the painters and allied trades, right? So we know what painting walls is, but what about a bridge painter? What about a glazer who's working with glass? Think about downtown Portland, all the new construction where all you see is glass, right? They're involved in that. They're involved working at very high heights. LIUNA, which is the laborers union, 500,000 members across North America. And the laborers are involved in every single aspect of the job site, right? So that's a good trade to really look at, right? If you're unsure, because you're going to get exposed to a lot. The plasters and cement masons, the sheet metal workers, right? We talked about the UA. Remember, the UA has multiple crafts: the fitters, the plumbers, the welders, the service techs, and the sprinkler fitters, the roofers and waterproofers, right? Another just great trade. And if you're thinking shingled roof, well, you're not really thinking what a union roofer and a waterproofer does, right? So think about all this net carbon zero, the new technology, right? That's utilizing new technology or utilizing, different energy sources. We're all involved in that. Think about the energy usage and consumption of new materials that absorbs that heat, that we can use that heat for something else. The Boilermakers, the heat and frost insulators. You talk about other trades, that are impacting the environment. The heat and frost insulators, they're insulating these pipes that we have throughout. The iron workers, which is about 190,000 members throughout the United States, and then the carpenters. So collectively, we're about 2.5 million workers. I'm sorry, 3.5 million workers across the country, right? So we all work together, right? So we all have different crafts, we all have different trades, but unions is more than what we do. Unions is about who we are. So I want to show a short video. This will take you back to American history, the Garment Triangle Shirtwaist Fires. So the Garment Triangle Shirtwaist Fires was not only a key moment in the labor movement in the United States, it's where my trade came from, right? And you're going to learn about this. This occurred in 1911. Remember, this happened in Greenwich Village. It happened in New York City, where there was a fire in a factory and young immigrant women died in the fire. So let's learn more.
The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire was a man-made disaster, a tragedy of the industrial age, made all the worse because it could have been prevented. Let me set the scene. New York City, early 20th century. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory occupied several floors of a Manhattan business building called the Ash Building. It was located just off Washington Square Park, one of the wealthiest neighborhoods in the city. The Triangle Shirtwaist Factory was, by almost any definition, a sweatshop. It was a densely packed place. Some 500 people worked there, and the work schedule was punishing. 11 to 12 hours a day, every day. Most of the people employed at the factory were young immigrant women, teenagers even, who didn't speak English. These women sat at long tables, day in, day out, sewing shirtwaists. Shirtwaists were mass-produced blouses. They resembled men's shirts and were very popular with working women. So here's what happened. March 25th, 1911, Saturday evening, the end of the workday, the work week. A fire started in a bin of cotton scraps, perhaps from a cigarette butt. A manager tried to use a hose to put it out, but the hose valve was rusted shut and the hose itself was rotted away. The factory floor didn't have a sprinkler system, so the fire spread quickly. People panicked. The building had only one flimsy fire escape, and it wasn't nearly big enough. It collapsed. The building had 4 elevators, but only one was working, and it only held 12 people at a time. It managed to make 4 rescue trips before it broke down. Some desperate workers jumped to their deaths down the elevator shaft. Workers tried to take the stairs, but the exit doors only opened inward, and they were kept locked by factory management. Many people were crushed to death trying to get out. Firefighting technology hadn't caught up to the new tall buildings of a city like New York. The fire hoses and ladders could only reach the 7th floor, 1 floor short of the fire. Dozens of desperate workers jumped out of the windows. They chose to die from the fall instead of the flames. Other workers burned to death or died from smoke inhalation. The whole episode lasted just 18 minutes. 144 people were dead. 2 more died later in the hospital, bringing the death toll to 146. Until the events of September 11th, it was the deadliest workplace disaster in New York City history. Days later, on April 5th, a massive funeral protest march took place on 5th Avenue in Manhattan. More than 350,000 people were in attendance. The factory owners, Max Planck and Isaac Harris, were indicted for manslaughter, but were declared not guilty in their trial later that year. Yet, long after the flames died out, the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory fire served as a cautionary tale that helped to redefine the American industrial workplace. The fire was a key moment in the growth of labor unions, particularly the ILGWU, or International Ladies Garment Workers Union. New York City passed measures including the Sullivan-Hoey Fire Prevention Law, which required sprinkler systems to be installed in all factories. It served as a model for state and national workplace safety codes. These measures made American workers safer, but they were too late for the workers who perished one terrible March day at the Triangle Shirtwaist Factory.
So let's talk about that really quick, right? So here's a tragedy that happened, right? And remember, this fire occurred on a Saturday night, the end of a work week, where young immigrant women, 12, 13, 14 years old, were working in the sweatshop. The doors were locked from the outside. There was no such thing as fire codes. There was no such thing as OSHA. The work week ended on a Saturday night. There was no such thing as the weekend. There was no such thing as child labor laws. In fact, you can go back on the History Channel and you'll see signage when you research the Industrial Revolution, the labor movement, and you will see signage that says, why pay a man $1 a day when you can pay a woman or a child 10 cents? So all these things that we take for granted today, the weekend, minimum wage, child labor laws, fire codes, fire extinguishers, fire exits, pull alarms in your classroom, right? These are a result of unions. So thank a union for that. So that protest of 350,000 people, it was the solidarity where people stood up and says enough is enough. So unions represent people. Our craft is what we do, but we're in the people process. We're there to represent our workers. So let's talk about some other things that
The
unions
Triangle
do, right? And I think this is really important. You've heard the word apprenticeship. Apprenticeship. Maybe you've heard that from your teachers, or you've heard it from your school counselor, or your parents, or your coaches, or your influencers. Hey, look at apprenticeships. So apprenticeship, all it is a combination of on-the-job training and technical instruction. Earn while you learn by doing, and backed up with technical instruction. But I think it's important to really understand the word apprenticeship, and it's a misused word today, right? And there's a lot of misused words, and I'm going to use an example. Here's a misused word, a misused term, multitasking. Came out about 20 to 25 years ago, and basically it says that you can do multiple things at the same time, right? Work on your multitasking skills, right? So you can do that, but the problem is the human brain can only focus on one thing at a time, right? That's why texting and driving is illegal. You're either texting or driving. You can't do both. Another misused word is apprenticeship. Everybody has an apprenticeship. But let me just share this with you. Just because you get a nice set of tools or a nice uniform or a nice company van doesn't mean that you're a plumber, doesn't mean that you're a sprinkler fitter or an HVAC tech. So what is a union apprenticeship? What it is what makes it registered is that our curriculum is registered with BOLI. Our curriculum is registered with the Federal Department of Labor. So our programs are designed like this, and we've been doing it for over 100 years. It's a collaboration between organized labor, the unions, okay, the signatory contractors, that's the business owner. We work together, and we have a training committee that has developed a curriculum, a standard that's approved by federal and state entities, and the curriculum is designed to develop you into what's called a journey person. And a journey person is a subject matter expert. In our case, they're a subject matter expert in the installation, testing, repair, and inspection of fire protection equipment, right? There's 15 different affiliate trades, right? And different crafts within each trade. So each of us has our own curriculum designed to develop subject matter experts. So the programs vary depending on the trade. Some trades are 2-year programs, some are 3-year, some are 4, some are 5. Mine is a 5-year program. All the United Association of Pipe Trades is a 5-year program. Earn while you learn, 10,000 hours of on-the-job training broken into 5 years, coupled with 1,200 hours of technical instruction. Right? So that's the classroom part. And when you're training in the field, you're being trained by that journey person. That's the subject matter expert. That's what your curriculum is designed to develop you to become. And a journey person is someone that can work unsupervised. There's someone that can train apprentices, right? You have that card that says you are a subject matter expert. So 10,000 hours of on-the-job training and 1,200 hours of technical instruction. We break that down into classroom training, and also you're going to do some virtual training. Here's a staggering number. Okay, last year, in the middle of a pandemic, the North American Building Trades Union, right, collectively, that's all of us, invested $2 billion in training and education. That would make us the largest university system in America. That would make us 5 times larger than the University of Oregon and Oregon State combined. We are America's best kept secret. We're the only organization at no cost to the taxpayer that our current membership pays forward for the future. We do that through our own self-supporting union dues. So you may say, yeah, I wanted to ask you about that, Tim. Well, ours is $28 a month, which is $7 a week. A portion of that goes to training and education. So a lot of the spin is that you got to spend hundreds of dollars on a monthly basis for your union dues. Okay, that's just a scare tactic. $28 a month, a portion of that goes to training and education. And collectively, because we stuck together at 3.5 million workers in the North American Building Trades Union, collectively, we were able to contribute and invest $2 billion in training and education. So here's how it works. Every 6 months, as you gain knowledge and work experience, you pick up rank. So you go from an apprentice 1 to an apprentice 2 to an apprentice 3, and guess what happens to your pay? It goes up. In our case, it goes up about $2 an hour until you journey out and become recognized as a subject matter expert. So here's the other piece. At the end of 5 years, when you journey out, you're going to earn 45 college credits without incurring any debt. Because our curriculum is registered, we are able to have articulation agreements with other educators because we are educators. We have articulation agreements with other colleges and community colleges. In our case, you're going to be 2 classes short of a 2-year degree in construction technology at no cost to you. We pay for your books, we pay for your tools. So let's shift gears. One of my favorite movies is The Matrix. And let's just pop in on here on one of my favorite scenes of all time, and let's talk about the truth.
This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more.
Okay, so which pill did he take, the red or the blue? Took the red pill because he wanted the truth. Right, so each of you, you're here exploring opportunities to find your own truth. Okay, and I think it's important really to understand that because everybody has their own pathway. And if you're like me, you learn your truth, you learn what's true a lot of times by unlearning what you thought was true, right? So there's a lot of blue pills, right? And before we get into some of those blue pills and talk about the truth, I want to show another quick video. And this is a burn trailer, okay, side by side burn trailer. I'm not going to show the one that's not protected, but I'm going to show the video, and I'm going to cut it off of the video of the room fire in a room that is protected by a sprinkler system. And you can see how quickly fire spreads and also how quickly sprinkler fitters work. And so this video is put on by the NFSA, or Burn Trailer, National Fire Safety Association. Okay, the fire started. We're looking at the one on the left, fire sprinkler. So we save lives. A lot of times the lives we save are the lives of first responders and firemen. I'm going to fast forward here and you're going to see that the fire on the right, okay, as that goes, it will continue to go on until who gets there? Fire department. That's the only way that fire gets.
Right? Watch that. See that newspaper laying on the front? See the newspaper?
That's
the neighbor's
I
flashover.
missed
We
to get
just
fighting
hit the
fire.
street. We're 4 minutes to get here. 5 minutes, 30 seconds. We're getting a whole lot. That's flashover. See that newspaper? We're still 5 minutes away from doing.
Okay, so that's a powerful video. Remember, the Garment Triangle Shirtwaist fires, 148 women died in 18 minutes. Fire spread that quickly. So let's go back to the matrix, right? The red pill and the blue pill. And here's an example, the blue. The only way to be successful is to get a white collar job and a 4-year degree. Did anybody ever hear that? Hey, if you want to be successful, you have to go to college, right? And you have to get that white collar job. Well, here's the truth. 60% of Americans do not have college degrees. 31% of those that go to a 2-year school and a 4-year school do not graduate. There's unfortunately a large percentage of students that take out student loans and they never step foot on the college campus, that they already incurred debt. There's 43 million Americans today that currently carry a significant student loan debt. And those that borrow, they borrow $37,000. Did you know over a 10-day period, a 10-year period of paying back that $37,000, that's a student loan payment of about $380 a month, right off the top, $380 a month that's gone. So the other thing is a lot of folks that go on to get their school is they get degrees and they are working in low wage industries, right? Where they're not going to be able to make that living wage. So if your pathway is to go to school, I think that's great, and you should pursue that. But if you're unsure and you're not going to school, don't think that you can't be successful. That's my point. That's false. Because college is a pathway to success, but it's not the only way. So I want you to repeat after me. You don't fail into construction. Right? You don't fail into construction. And that was the old way of thinking. That was not the truth. Is that, hey, try something. Go around the block a couple of times. Try this, try that. And if all else fails, you can go into construction. Thinking that, hey, when you go into construction, you're settling. Right? So we want you to stay on this road to success. Right? So we have this opportunity, and it's the bus is going towards the middle class, and it's going to success. And you have an opportunity to get on the bus, right? We need 1.8 million workers nationwide in construction. So there's plenty of seats. But what we don't want, as you get through high school and you move and you start thinking about your careers, we don't want you to get stuck. We don't want you to take an exit. We don't want you to take a detour where you get stuck in minimum wage careers. Did you know that the average age of minimum wage workers is 35? It's not a teenager. 35 is the average age of minimum wage workers. 50% of women and people of color are employed in low wage industries. It doesn't have to be that way, right? If you like to use your hands, right? You like to build, you like working outside, you like to see what happens at the end of the day, right? And you want an opportunity in construction, you're gonna make a lot of money. You're gonna be represented, right? There's something called wage equity, which means that an apprentice one is paid the same as an apprentice one, period, right? So we don't distinguish based on your race, based on your gender, based on your sex, based on your sexual identity or your sexual preference or your religion, that, hey, you're paid differently. That's not wage equity. Wage equity is that a woman, as an example, is paid the exact same as a man if they're doing the same job. So we fight for that. That's part of unions, all unions, right? Remember, there's 15 different pathways you can choose, right? We're there to represent our workers to make sure that it's a safe work environment. But we also, under collective bargaining, focus on three main things. Number one is living wage, right? Our members are making a living wage, right? They can pay for the essential things in their particular community, having benefits for their family and themselves, and having the opportunity to retire with dignity, right? So you may say, hey, Tim, I've heard this before, is that, maybe you heard this as people talk, is that unions were really cool back in 1911, back in the Industrial Revolution, but we don't need them anymore. Okay, they kind of exhausted their useful life, right? But let me ask you this question, right? And just pop in the chat window and, just pipe in on this. And I appreciate everybody's interaction. Is in the last 20 years, do you think the cost of rent has gone up, gone down, or stayed the same? Well, the answer is here, right? It's gone up 30%. How about the cost of food, cost of groceries? It's gone up 28%. Cost of healthcare premiums has gone up 71%. That's why President Obama focused on the Affordable Care Act, because the healthcare premiums were going through the roof, right? So now they're stabilized a little bit. How about the cost of higher education? Public schools, tuition has gone up 36%. Private schools, it's gone up in some cases 80% in the last 20 years. How about the cost of technology, your cell phone? It's gone up 35%, right? And then recently, we're going through this super inflation period where it's gone through the roof. But what about wages? Okay, this stuff has gone up, but that's okay if the wages keep up because they can still afford it. So do you think in the last 20 years the wages have gone up, stayed the same, or gone down? Go ahead and put it in the chat. Right, so, all right, and I just saw all three, and the answer is yes, yes, and yes, okay? The top 10% of earners, the wages have gone up 32%. right? So they've kept pace with the cost of living increase. The top 50%, the wages have only gone up 14%, not keeping pace. The bottom 20%, the wages have gone up 4%. Right? So that's why there's the national minimum wage conversation. But that's why the labor unions, because we have the ability to, because solidarity, strength in numbers, to negotiate in the collective bargaining process where we negotiate on our membership's behalf with our contractors, wages, benefits, and retirement. So wages. And what we use is different indicators. So one of the indicators is what does it cost for a 2-bedroom apartment, right? So that's a living wage indicator, right? And there's more that goes into that. But in the Portland market, you need to be earning over $25.50 an hour to be making a living wage. So here's what happens is if you're not making a living wage, at the end of the month, you have to make a decision. Do I pay this bill over that bill, right? Do I not have technology that I want? Do I not eat the food that I want to eat because I need to have the housing, right? So at the end of the day, you can't pay for everything. You have to make a decision. A living wage means you can pay for that and have money left over. So here's at the end of the first year as a sprinkler fitter in the Portland market in Southwest Washington. You're going to be earning $23.58 an hour. At the end of the second year, remember incrementally, the wages go up $27.58. At the end of the third year, $31.58. At the end of the fourth year, $35.58. At the end of the fifth year, $39.58. And as a journey person, that subject matter expert, sprinkler fitter in your market, you're earning $42.15 an hour, right? But it doesn't stop there. You take on leadership responsibility. You're in charge of other journey persons and apprentices. You become a supervisor, which used to be called becoming that foreman, right? You're getting compensated for that. So you're earning $45.15 an hour, right? Hey, folks, these are 6-figure careers. This is before overtime. And your benefits are on top of that, right? So it's not $45.15 minus $15 for benefits. No, it's $45.15 in your check. So we're on this pathway. What takes people off? No benefits, not having medical, dental, vision, prescription benefits, and not having the opportunity to retire with dignity. So you will have 100% benefits, and you're not even paying for them, right? That's the strength in numbers, right? That's what we offer through our collective bargaining process. And we also offer that ability to retire with dignity. So if you're like me, maybe you know people that are in their 70s that are working because they have to, not because they want to, because they can never retire. So what's better than one pension plan? All right, and I see the answers. People are chatting in there, 1, 3, 5. Well, let's just agree that it's more than one is better. We have 2. Here's the first one. You're going to get $135 a month for every year you work. So you all are young. You're coming out of high school. Let's say you work for 40 years. 40 times 135, and you can check my math. That's $5,400 a month. Well, let's put that in perspective. What does that really mean? Well, $5,400 a month times 12 months in a year, that's $64,800 a year. This is after you stop working. And it's not just a check. You're getting that every single year. You're getting the $5,400 every month, 12 months out of the year. And the life expectancy that will get you to 80 years old in the United States, let's take that 64,800 and multiply it by 20. That comes to $1.296 million. That's under this current contract. Because by the time you all journey out, that 135 will be 140. Then a couple of years later, it'll be $145 a month. But currently, we'll just use 135 over an average life expectancy. that value, without you contributing a dime, you will have $1.3 million pension program. Pension 2, the contractors contribute. This isn't your money. This is their money contributing to your fund, your money now, $7.83 an hour. Let's do the math on that. $7.83 times 40 hours in a week times 52 weeks in a year. That's $16,800. Hey, you do that by the 40 years until you retire. That's $651,000. That's a nice chunk of change. But the story gets better because you're collecting interest on that investment. So the average 401k interest rate is 7%. The compounding interest of $16,800 over 40 years at 7%, that money grows to $3.353 million. So that's a combined amount of $4.5 million. So that means if you're not represented and you don't have those extra benefits, that you're going to have to save that money on your own. You would have to go out and save, okay, the $64,800 a year and the $651,000, right? This is before you even invest a dime. Now let's just say you invest $1 a year or $1 an hour, right? Think about how much that's going to grow. Or you do your own stock trading on your own, right? You don't fail into construction. This is a game changer, right? And I know benefits don't mean a lot to you right now, but they are very, very important. And that's why we have been recognized as the #1 pathway to the middle class over the last 100 years. And that was cited in the Wall Street Journal by Cornell University, an Ivy League school. And they cited that 4 years ago. So let's shift gears. I'm going to show some drone videos now, right? Now, I appreciate that comment. Yeah, absolutely right. Yeah, and we've got a number of students here that they have parents that are in the trades and represented by unions, and you should be proud of that. All right, so let's watch some drone videos. I want to get specific and show some videos here about what we do at Sprinkler. In this one here, you're going to see women in construction, and you're going to watch a number of sisters in Local 669. A number are from the Portland market. They're going to be on the job site. They're going to talk about what 669 has done for them. But I really want you to understand that this career is for everyone. This career is for everyone. In fact, the UA in the last 2 years has had a 78% increase of women coming into our trades.
Someone told me construction was a man's job. I would say what I've always said, which is absolutely not. Women can do anything a man can do. I can do anything a man can do.
Anything that my brothers or my dad could do, I can do it just as well, or if not better.
It seems like there's more and more of us out there, and I think that it's awesome for women to work with their hands and use their minds in different ways.
Want to be as passionate about your career as these women? Want a career that guarantees equal pay regardless of gender? We're looking for you. We're the Sprinkler Fitters Local 669 Joint Apprenticeship and Training Committee, also known as the JATC. All across the nation, infrastructure, property, and lives are protected thanks to the work of well-trained and highly skilled sprinkler fitters. We're currently seeking motivated women from all backgrounds to join our apprenticeship program, learning the skills needed to start a rewarding career as a sprinkler fitter.
Honestly, I thought it was sprinklers, like ground sprinklers. Oh, you mean like fire sprinklers? And they were like, yeah, it's an apprenticeship, so it's not just a job, it's a career.
We'll train you to install and maintain fire protection systems, including commercial and industrial structures, power plants, hospitals, factories, and more.
I think that a sprinkler fitter helps the firefighters out in the sense that we're kind of the first line of defense.
It's a means of exiting safely if and when there happens to be a fire.
Sprinkler fitters work hard to ensure that the potentially tragic consequences of fire never become reality. Think of it as being a proactive firefighter, working in advance through the careful design, installation, and maintenance of some of the world's most advanced sprinkler systems.
I do get a lot of satisfaction knowing that what we do is help to save lives. It's super important.
This is challenging work, often done in the air, on ladders or lifts. If this sounds like your type of career, there has never been a better time to consider an apprenticeship in the sprinkler fitting trade.
So it's a 5-year apprenticeship program, and it goes hand in hand with schoolwork.
Our apprentices complete a 5-year program that provides both on-the-job training and free classroom instruction. You'll earn while you learn, getting paid on day one, along with quality healthcare and a retirement plan.
There is nothing in the sprinkler trade that would hold a woman back from being successful. Not one solitary thing.
You know, once you do your apprenticeship and you do your time, you don't just have to turn wrenches. There's different opportunities. You can go wherever you want to go, as long as you have the mindset to.
We'll set you up for success in the sprinkler fitting trade, so you can start building the life you've always imagined.
The best part of being a sprinkler fitter is that I get to provide a comfortable life for my family while at the same time getting satisfaction out of a career and actually feeling like I'm doing something important.
Learn more about becoming a sprinkler fitter at training669.org and find something you're passionate about.
Okay, so now we're going to shift some gears here and we're going to watch some drone videos. So this is from a medical center, and if you ever wondered what it's like behind the envelope of a building, here's some drone footage. And I want you, as you look around, you see our pipe hangers on the rack off here to the right, and look above. That's where we're going to hang our pipe from, right? Those are big pipe hangers. Every day for a sprinkler fitter, it's very diverse. You're not doing the same thing every day. Putting in pipe hangers, drilling those, running pipe, cutting pipe, threading pipe, grooving pipe, installing pumps, doing fire caulking, working on bringing in the water supply into the building, so you could be working alongside the electricians that are working on the ground, right? As you look around, think about all the trades that you see here in this drone footage, right? How many do you see? Right? You look at that steel decking, you look at the concrete, you look at the beam lines, you look at the sprinkler fitter lines, we've got electricity. You look at scaffolding that the laborers do. Okay, this one here, I want you to see where we come in. We typically go in right before the sheet metal work. So if you fly the drone, you're going to see some duct work, right? And you're going to see some black pipe. You'll see the hangers again. And I want you to really just kind of see the type of pipe, the size of the pipe that we're dealing with. Okay, so we're going down into this particular phase. Look up, you see that black pipe with the elbows, the red, right? That's all fire protection. All this pipe hangers and lift the pipe up. Got the beautiful ductwork and piping, right? Every single room, every part of that building, every part of this particular hospital has to be covered and protected from fire. So that's an awful lot of pipe. In addition, we have to go back, test, inspect, and maintain these systems for a trade that's always working, right? Because we go back and we test those systems. Here's one of my favorite movies. It's called Jerry Maguire. So Tom Cruise, a young Tom Cruise, plays a sports agent. He represents a young Cuba Gooding Jr. And this is Cuba Gooding Jr.'s one of his first major breakout movies. And Cuba Gooding, his name is Rod. That's who he plays. And he is an all-star NFL receiver. He's a skill player who's having an all-pro year. This is his contract year. He's a free agent. So he calls up Tom Cruise, right? And he wants to make sure that Tom is representing him so he can get paid.
What can I do for you, Rod? You just tell me, what can I do for you?
It's a very personal, important thing. Hell, it's a family motto. Are you ready, Jerry?
I'm ready.
Just want to make sure you're ready, brother. Here it is. Show me the money.
Every 6 months, we're apprentice to get all in our favor.
Say that. Say it with me one time, Jerry.
Show you the money.
Oh, no, you can do better than that, Jerry. I want you to say it with you with meaning, brother. Hey, I got Bob Sugar on the other line. I better hear you say it.
Yeah, no. Show you the money.
Not show you. Show me the money.
Show me the money.
Yeah. Louder.
Show me the money.
That's it, brother, but you got to yell that shit.
Show me the money.
I need to feel you, Jerry.
Show me the money.
Jerry, you better yell. Show me the money.
Yeah, it's more than the money, right? So if all you're doing is chasing the money, you're not going to be happy, and it's probably not going to work out, right? But if you're going to do the work, you might as well get paid what you have earned. But it is more than the money, right? So I want you to think about, when you use your hands, you have a sense of accomplishment. At the end of the day, you can say, I accomplished this, right? It's a lot of great feedback when you work in the trades. Think about the work that we're doing with Net Carbon Zero. We already talked about, down in Salem, the end of the world construction. We're on the cutting edge of protecting the nation. We test, inspect, and maintain these systems. We don't really lay off, because we're always working. We've had less than 2% unemployment for 15,000 people. We work in smaller crews, right? Which is more one-on-one training. Right, so some of the trades, maybe they have a ratio of 20 apprentices to one, to one journey person. So I want you to think about it. It's more than the money. Think about the HVAC refrigeration tech. Think about ventilation systems, how important they are to be installed properly during the middle of an airborne pandemic called coronavirus, COVID-19. How important is that ventilation system in your school, in an airport, in an assisting living center? How important is that refrigeration tech that works on refrigeration systems in railroad cars, in trucks, in distribution centers and warehouses that is housing the vaccine that has to be frozen? How important is the sprinkler fitter system in a nursing home, in a stadium, in an apartment complex, okay, in a building where there's thousands of people that are working? How important is that? This is essential work, right? So it is more than the money, right? This is worthwhile work, right? This is not only honorable work, this is vital, right, to our economy today. And that's why, again, show me the money, but it's more than the money. It's the benefits, the opportunity to retire to dignity, and having a great career where you're learning a life skill. That's why we have been called the #1 pathway into the middle class. So we want you to stay on the road to success. Remember, you have 15 trades that you can pick from, right? So here's our process, right? And let me just quickly look at some questions in the chat room. Okay, it has to do with how do I get started? Absolutely. Okay, so you're going to get my contact information from your educators. I will walk you through the process, but on that QR code that have been sent out to your educators, there's a QR code to videos. You can watch 6 more videos. There's one to get started. You have to be 18. You have to have a high school diploma. You have to have a GED. You have to pass a drug test, and you have to pass a physical. But we have what's called open enrollment. You don't have to wait on the apprenticeship class to start. We hire throughout the year, and our contractors are the ones that hire. So you're going to go to get started. You're going to fill out a profile. It takes you 3 minutes. And then based on your zip code, right? We're all basically in the same zip code, right? So Southwest Washington, Portland. Your profile information to go to every single contractor in a 100-mile radius. And they do the interviews. Once they hire you, you join the union. Once you join the union, you start the apprenticeship program, right? And we're structured that way because, again, we're in 48 states. It's open enrollment. Our signatory contractors are very busy right now. We've got needs. Okay. So I mentioned I'm going to share with you that website, training669.org. That's my contact information. And I want you to just reintroduce yourself when you text me and say, yo, Tim, we met at Portland Workforce Alliance. You said that you would help me. Can you help me get started? And I'll spend time with you. But let's just go to that website really quick so you can see that. Oh, we can't jump on that. Okay. And I am going to actually stop sharing at this point. And I've got a question. Someone wants me to go to that website, and I'm going to go ahead and do that. Just bear with me here. It's a very easy site to navigate. Again, it's on that QR code. Okay. And we're just going to pop back in here. We're going to share the screen. And there we go. Okay, so now we're up on the website. This is what it looks like from my laptop. It's going to look a little different from your cell phone, but you can click on videos, right? And there's 6 videos. There's Day in the Life. There's one for military. There's one Women Find Success as Sprinkler Fitters. We watched that. Okay, there's a total of 6 videos. And there's About Us that talks about our history. But here's the Get Started, okay? So you're going to go here. You got to be 18. You have to have a high school diploma, GED, physically fit, do the work. If you're military, you have to have an honor roll or dishonorable discharge. If you're not military, you still have to check that box. So it's worded a little, it's confusing. And then we talked about the drug test and the physical. So you check all the boxes. Click on next step. There's an opportunity to watch a video to learn more. We're just going to skip that for now. But when you go through, I want you to do that, and you're going to fill out your profile. Name, address, zip code, phone number, veteran status, high school, how'd you hear about us? And I want you to put in here PWA, and then you can just put my name in there, Tim Coleman. PWA, and then you hit submit. Okay, and then every contractor will get that, right? So that's pretty easy. So a lot of good information. I also ask you, everyone, to utilize YouTube as a great resource. All right, so I'm looking at some questions here. Do you have to travel in all 48 states? The answer is no. You can, right? So we have different opportunities because we're in 48 states, and there's flexibility. So if you want to travel and you're like, I want to be a traveler, then we have contractors that work on very large infrastructure projects. I just came back from Albuquerque, New Mexico, and Intel in that particular market has a $3.5 billion expansion. I'm going to Phoenix, Arizona, where Samsung, right, any Android users out there, is building a $20 billion chip plant. President Biden talked about the Intel chip plant that's going to be built in Columbus, Ohio. That's about a $20 to $25 billion project. We have contractors that work nationwide. And if you become a traveler, you're going to be working a lot. It's an opportunity to make a ton of money, right? You can live in Portland, but you travel. You're traveling for a time, right? You're traveling, working 6 days a week, 10-hour days. You're getting paid per diem. You're getting about $175 a day to live on. Okay, plus you're getting mileage if you're going to drive to that site. And then every 3 weeks or so, you get sent home for safety reasons to reset, because we don't want to burn you out. But we also have, and the great thing about the Portland, Vancouver market is we have contractors that when you work with them, and that's the majority, right? That's about 95% of our members. They work for regional contractors. You'll be home every night, right? If you lived in Spokane, you wouldn't be home every night, because those contractors bid on work in Moses Lake, they've been on work in Walla Walla, they've been on work in Idaho, right? And they also do work in Spokane. But sometimes you're in that case, in that market, you're home every week. right? You're home every weekend. In the Portland market, there's so much work that you're home every night. It's like a city local. Okay, you're welcome. That was a great question. That was a great question. Yeah, in our training center, another great question here. It's located right near the airport. So we have 2 training proctors in that particular training center. We have about 100 apprentices in this area. Right, again, totally 2,700 apprentices. We have 56 instructors that instruct in 41 locations across the country. Right, we have a total of 56 training instructors. Right, so we're a big local. Great question. Okay, so we are running out of time. I thank everybody. I'm putting in the chat window here. Again, it's training669.org. And my name is Timothy Coleman. And you can hit me up at ny669jtcrecruiting, gmail.com. Okay, thanks again, everyone. I hope you have a great day and enjoy the rest of this wonderful conference. There's a lot of great vendors. I know that I saw the laborers. I saw the IBEW and NECA. I saw them here. So the carpenters are here. So please take a look at some of the other trades. And again, thank you for your time and energy.